We got ourselves the man of the hour, Jack Boy. Yo, that's a thick boy right there. We also got ourselves Valorant. We got Chill Pills, the Frosty God, with Melkor. How you doing, my man? Oh, looking good. Looking really good. We got ourselves Shadow Rick versus Team Chicago. On Chicago, we have ourselves Flexing in there. Good thing Flexing Chicago, not the same team. Otherwise, it would have been a really long game. Peachy as a tree. We got ourselves Viva Antafe. What? Vivi Antafe. And we got ourselves Juice Box. It looks like it is going to be who's first. Looks like Flexing is going up versus Shadow Rick in the opener. Does get hit with the second, but see, got a Cataclysm around the corner. Shadow Rick just walking up at the Survival Hunt and trying to make the most damage happen. Survival Hunt does go for a feign death into a freezing trap onto Shadow Rick. Try to see if he can catch a bit of a reset there. Mortal Coil onto Flexing, trying to make a fear happen. It looks like there's going to be almost casual setup, but Flexing does create some range, lots of range. Should be able to get the dots on the pet. Looks like he's fed getting feared though. And that's going to be a succubus. See, is he going to just take out the succubus storm? It's going to be Shadow Fury around the corner. Infernal walking its way over to Flexing. Looks like the Infernal is going to get the AoE out onto Flexing before disappearing into a freezing trap onto Shadow Rick. Trying to CC the pet as well. Flexing is going to get some dots rolling onto Shadow Rick. Big port available for the Warlock, and Flexing kind of porting, leaping out there in the open, trying to get the dots rolling onto Shadow Rick, trying to go for whatever range damage you can make happen here. And Rick is going to take a bit of that shadow damage. Warlock Healthstone getting used pretty early as his health is dipping. Rick no longer with the wall, so he's actually pretty naked without defensives here. He can only go for big CC, so he does need to go for a massive setup onto Flexing. Can't interrupt demanding bandages because it looks like the pet is nowhere around. He's gonna have to summon a new succubus unless Flexing denies it. Does go for the muzzle, trying to deny the new succubus. And Rick does go for a massive port. Big gateway, just trying to reposition completely. Flexing is aware of his positional, is going to disengage aggressively. Shadow Rick does get opportunity to get himself a Mortal Coil into a fear, almost landing the fear, but the line of sight stopped him for a second. Shadow is not looking all that good. Rick getting interrupted on Shadow. Cataclysm around the corner. It looks like the Chakram's taking him out. I think it's going to be Valorant up next. Looks like it's going to be Valorant up next. As a booming playing that Kieran bash out of Flexing, making the Star Searchers do a ton of damage, trying to get the damage up and running. Thorns for the pet slow in case maybe Flexing goes up in melee, but Flexing is nowhere near melee. He's a hunter, dude. As a survivor, you're just going to stay at range and do as much damage as you can from range. You're not going to get into melee if you can help it. Camo, as Valorant, does go for a bit of a reset themselves. Valorant did burn Incarnation, so that is a pretty rough situation. Valorant does play adaptation, so actually Flexing will not be able to CC Valorant all that well. Actually, sort of, kind of. You'll be able to break out of every freezing trap or every other stun. Big damage on a Valorant, though. Popping in the bear from needs our friends in regen right now. If only Flexing had the Mortal Strike effect with the poisons, then that would be pretty good for the CC or for the healing for Valorant. Dropping the nades. The dots are doing work. Killshot should be able to finish it. It looks like Valorant almost gets a seed pod, but then it breaks. It looked like the C-Bot maybe almost broke. Chippo's going to be up next. Trying to make the big damage happen. Gripping in, Flexing, going in for a big Maldraxian hand in hand. Swapping the attention onto the pet immediately as full cooldowns are rolling. Flashcraft right after while he's having to sit there and wait while CDs are coming back. And is going to get an interrupt on Flexing as he tried to summon himself a full new pet. Stun to Flexing. Looks like big obliterates are going to take him out. And that was just a lot of damage out of a Frost Death. The Chicago going to be up next, rolling in as an Elemental Shaman. Yet again, more of that Ellie with the Earth Elemental very, very early. Stormkeeper coming out. Chippas is going to drop down anti-magic zone, expecting lots of damage from Chicago. As they're walking away from Chippas, hoping the Chippas walks out of it. But the anti-magic zone absorbs all that damage, all the zaps, all the lava bursts. Chippas just kind of waited there and sat there the whole time. Went in for the big Dragon Strike, but looks like he doesn't run the stun with the Dragon Strike. So I think he's playing the Coltiran. The Coltira legendary, which is more obliterate damage, 10% more, and obliterates have a chance to give you runes back, 2 runes in fact. So you can go for back-to-back big obliterates, which makes the burst humongous. Just single target burst potential is huge. It's gonna get those obliterates back-to-back with a massive hook. That hook from the Unholy, that weapon, the hooked sword, looks so good for obliterates, man. It just looks like it comes down like a massive sickle, dude. That is so sweet looking. Chicago in that Earth Shield with a wall up and running. Lasso onto Chill Pills. He's just going to have to take the lasso to the face. Not much you can really do about it. Does get a grip back onto Chicago. As long as he can keep putting pressure, he'll be okay. Interrupt Chicago on that cast. Could be a heck with a Hex. And I think that Hex is going to get hit with an AMS though. Chill Pills was ready for it. And Chicago is just going to go for a lot of recovery. Chicago does have a lot of still survivability here. So Chilpas goes for a damage build. Chicago goes for an anti-damage build or anti-taken damage build. So we'll see how well it works out for him. Chicago's still trying to get himself lightning on the hands though. Hasn't been able to do it properly just yet. Big Zapstone and Chill Pills does have on the Mike Jackson and Shield proc, and it looks like Chill Pills caught up on a lot of health there out of nowhere. Was that a massive death strike? Did he take out the Earth Fire Elemental pet? Is that what happened? Last on to Chill Pills. Could IBF if he wants to. Has a human racial if he needs a big grip onto Chicago with a Chain of Ice immediately. And that's going to be a zombie getting summoned up and then sacrificed immediately. So Chill Pills can just keep going with damage. Southern Chicago is going to have Trinket available for it. Not wall available though. Chill Pills got himself full cooldowns ready. If he only gets an interrupt, he'll be in a good spot. Looks like he breaks out of that stun at the last second with an IBF to take down Chicago with a massive obliterate. Just didn't even hesitate. Stunned. Big damage. He could just finish him off right now. Juice Box up next is a Retribution Paladin. Big hammer damage. Seraphim available. Lots of scary, ready damage. Chimples does go for a massive death strike though. Gets a lot of heals from it. Massive amount of heals from it in fact. Juice Box has every cooldown available. Seraphim down though, so that's his portion. A portion of that nuke is gone. Just you know, one of the payloads of a massive nuke gone. But still very scary. Chiple's trying to go for first stay behind the pillar. Whatever health recovery he can get, the better. I don't know if he has Lichborn available or not. Trying to make the obliterates happen, getting resources up and running. Might have to go for death back here. Looks like the big death claws are coming out in Lichborn, trying to catch up on as much health as he can. Stun to Juice Box, forcing a normal trinket out of him. Still has a human racial for later, if anything. Will not have that Rachel available. Next stun, Chippas is going to have to go for a death pack with Chain of Ice and a Juice Box, just trying to avoid Juice Box. Let him actually gripping in that reset. Try not to get a beat up by Juice Box too much, but doesn't want him to go for any kind of healing either. Hard to Chilpas, didn't have pre-MS up available for it. The health should be, yeah, the health comes back from being necrotic out. And that's going to be a bubble from Juice Box actually. Lots of defenses have been used by the Paladin. Shield Advantage is not available for a while. Chilpas might actually be able to do something here. Does have anti-magic zone if anything. Probably has a human racial by now because I think he used it very early on. Big obliterates. The Juice Box does go down. Chilpas left with not a lot of health. Gripping in the Monk with a big death strike right after. Does go for a Hunger and Rune weapon or Empower Rune weapon just to give himself lots of resources. Chain of Ice onto Vivi. And he is going to go, I think, for a Battle Master's Trinket to increase his own health by a little. Into Lex, who does have a human racial for it to break out. Still continuing to heal as much as he can. Someone that sacrifices the pet immediately is going to get the big Dragon Breath onto Vivi, doing whatever damage he can, but mostly going for defensive play. Rather play with the images of Vivi rather than with the Monk himself. Continue to get as many death strikes as possible. And Vivi takes him out. I think the Battle Master's Trinket disappeared at that point. I think it's gone. It was gone, and then the next hit just took him out. I think that's what might have happened there. At least I'm guessing. I really have no idea. Because I don't think he would have taken him out 40%. At least a massive crit. Was Vivi running Weapons of Order? I would guess so. Most monks are, right? So maybe it was Weapons of Order, a big hit. But Jack Boy, Thick Jack over here, trying to make a big old play as a Kyrian monk, dude. Look at him rolling in. I guess Vivi tried to put up a defense with a Fist of Furies. Does go for a little bit of Fort Brew, but doesn't really last super long for Vivi though. Is going to get himself behind the pillar, recover. Jack so far hasn't really been able to capitalize with his damage. That was a lot of big damage from Frost. Exactly what happened. Okay, so he did what, the crit part or the trinket? Was that the Chilpas? Was it the crit or was it the trinket fell off at the last second? Which one of those was it? Big damage for Vivi. Does need a full karma. Try to see if he can live through our karma, but that was a lot of damage. Melkor is up next. The trinket. Oh, okay. Because it looked like you had full health and then it just all of a sudden gone. So confirmed it was the trinket mechanic. Okay. Melkor going to be up next. Taking a lot of that karma damage. Has a full pet setup. That's going to be lots of karma versus damage back to Melkor. Does go for a death pack really early on. IBF available. Is actually just having a lot of trouble with that Ring of Peace. Not a lot of health to really work with Melkor. Trying to heal himself as much as possible. While also trying to do damage to Vivi. But Vivi lived through a lot of that pet damage. All those Army of the Dead. Oh, Vivi got some damage. Vivi got some big dammies. How many kills was that for Chilp? 3 kills back to back. He survived quite a bit with how little survivability